He didn't lift his hands to the sky. He didn't chase the chant. George Armstrong just ran. 17 seasons, 621 appearances. Every one of them earned the hard way. He didn't play for headlines, didn't beg for medals, didn't demand tribute. He just crossed the ball, tracked the run, won it back, and started again. He played through pain, played when the rain made the pitch a swamp, played when others went missing. He never pulled the spotlight toward him, but somehow the ball always found him. They sang for other names, built statues for men who stayed less, ran less, bled less, but not him. When the club reached its greatest height, he was on the pitch for all of it. Every pass, every blade of grass, and when his legs gave out, he didn't vanish. He came back to coach, to teach, to give again. Until the day he collapsed on the training ground he once ruled. No send-off, no roar, no monument, just silence. But for those who know, for those who understand what it means to serve one club with everything, he was the lungs, the rhythm, the man who never stopped running. Subscribe if loyalty still matters, because football forgot George Armstrong, but we never will. George Armstrong was born on the 9th of August 1944 in Hebburn, County Durham, a coal town in England's industrial northeast, where the air smelled of metal and football was carved into the streets. He grew up chasing a ball through grit and fog, boots scuffed, legs raw, learning control on uneven concrete and stamina on frozen grass. Before Arsenal, he played for local club Scotswood, a tough school of football that sharpened his stamina and service. He wasn't big, wasn't loud, but he could run. By 17, the scouts were watching. In 1961, Arsenal took their chance. A boy from the pits and terraces was headed for Highbury. London didn't bend for newcomers, and Armstrong didn't ask it to. He trained in silence, waited. 3 seasons in the reserves. No promises, no shortcuts. Then came his break. 24th February, 1962, Arsenal vs Blackpool, First Division. He was 17 and ready. He made his debut that day, just 1 game. But it started something that would last 17 years. From 1962 to 1977, George Armstrong played more than 600 games for Arsenal, 621 appearances in total, the second highest in club history at the time. He missed almost nothing. Through title chases, cup finals, and mid-table slogs, he ran the wing like it was a duty. There were no rest days, no load management. He played through the pain and played through the years until his body started to whisper the truth. It was almost done. But even then, he never asked to stop. He became the fixture in the team others were rotated around. Crosses by the 100, tackles when needed. You could rely on Geordie every single game, said Arsenal captain Frank McClintock. He never missed a session, never gave less than 100%, a manager's dream. In the stands, fans saw it. The consistency, the humility, the way the team felt different when he wasn't on the pitch. 1970. Arsenal hadn't won a trophy in 17 years. The pressure was thick, the critics louder. The weight of expectation crushed every pass. And then came Europe. The Intercities Fairs Cup. 2 legs against Anderlecht, the Belgian champions, ruthless at home. In Brussels, Arsenal were outplayed. 3-1 down, hopes flickering. But George Armstrong never flickered. He ran, pressed, drew markers wide with tireless overlaps. He didn't score, but he stretched the game like fabric. At Highbury, the roar returned. 3-0, a comeback written in sweat. 4-3 on aggregate. Arsenal's first European trophy. No cameras found Armstrong, no headlines circled his name, but on the wing, he was the rhythm. He kept the width, kept the tempo, kept the faith when it was 3-1 down and most had stopped believing. He wasn't the star, he was the reason the stars had space. And when the final whistle blew, he didn't raise his arms. He just jogged back to halfway. Because George Armstrong didn't need the moment. He had done the work. And when Arsenal's greatest season arrived, he was there for every minute. 1970 to 71. The double, league champions and FA Cup winners. A campaign for the ages, and George Armstrong played in every single match. Every league game, every cup tie, every cross, every drop of sweat. He didn't lift the trophies alone, but he carried them in the run, in the recovery, in the 1,000 unnoticed moments that make glory possible. He fed Kennedy, fed Radford, fed the belief that Arsenal could chase both crowns and catch them. Behind the scenes, Don Howe helped shape the system that let Armstrong thrive, and when Charlie George fell to the Wembley turf after firing home the winner in the cup final, Armstrong didn't scream. He just jogged back to the center circle, ready to do it all again if needed. Because that was George. The final pass before the roar. The rhythm beneath the celebration. The man who ran the wing while others ran to the spotlight. Geordie never wanted the spotlight, said Arsenal goalkeeper Bob Wilson. But without him, that double season doesn't happen. The roar faded. But he didn't. After the double, Arsenal changed. New names arrived, old legs slowed, and George Armstrong, he just kept running. Through the 1970s, the club drifted. Form dipped, squads reshuffled. But Armstrong remained the one constant on the left. He wasn't the same player he'd been in '71, but even at half a yard slower, he still had more to give than most. He hit his 600th appearance in 1976, when others from his era had long since retired or moved on. And when his final game came in 1977, there were no fireworks, no farewell match, no banner at Highbury saying thank you. He walked off the pitch the same way he'd always played on it, quietly, with nothing left to prove. 621 games, 68 goals, 17 years in red and white. Not a star, not a slogan, just a servant of the badge to the very end. He didn't hold a press conference, didn't write a book, didn't chase the pundit's chair. After leaving Arsenal in 1977, he played on one season at Leicester City, 1977 to 1978, then Stockport County, 1978 to 1979, before heading to Norway as player-manager at FK Mjølner in 1980. But his real return came in silence. In 1990, he walked back through the doors at Highbury not as a player, but as a coach. No fanfare, no unveiling. Just George in training gear, standing quietly at the edge of the pitch, watching the youth teams with the same eyes that once scanned the left wing for danger. He became the voice behind the next generation. For 10 years, he gave everything again the same way he always had. Quiet, precise, loyal. Until the morning his body gave out. It was 31st October 2000. Just another morning at Arsenal's training ground. Youth team drills, chalk on boots, the usual rhythm of a coach who had never stopped giving. Then suddenly he collapsed, right there on the pitch. In front of the kids, he was helping become men, helping become Arsenal. George Armstrong had suffered a brain hemorrhage. They rushed him to hospital, but he never woke up. The news broke fully on the 1st of November, and by the 3rd of November 2000, the tributes had filled every part of the club. He was 56, no drama, no final words, just a life given entirely and then gone. The shock rippled across the club, from the youth ranks to Arsene Wenger's first team, from the old terraces to the new generation. Because even if they hadn't seen him play, they knew what he meant. At Arsenal, they don't speak of George Armstrong loudly. They speak of him with respect, with pause, with the weight you give to someone who never asked for your attention but earned all of it. He didn't have a statue outside the Emirates, didn't make the documentaries, didn't trend. But ask an old gunner about George Armstrong and watch their eyes shift. They'll tell you about the crosses, about the touchline runs, about the man who never stopped moving, even when the club did. They remember the way he made Arsenal feel. To the kids, he was just the quiet coach with kind eyes. But to those who knew, he was the bridge between generations. When Arsenal named a pitch at their training ground after him, the George Armstrong Memorial Field, it wasn't about size, it was about soul. You don't forget 17 years of loyalty. You don't forget 621 games of service. You don't forget someone who gave it all and never asked for anything back. So they still speak his name at Arsenal. Not loudly, but always. Not every legend wears a crown. Some just wear the shirt again and again until it fades with them. George Armstrong didn't chase glory. He earned respect. From the Fairs Cup in 1970 to the double in '71, from his first sprint down the Highbury wing to his last breath as an Arsenal coach, he gave everything. He was made for history. In an era of transfers and egos, Armstrong stayed. When others slowed, he pressed. And when he passed, he did so in the same place he loved most, on the pitch. It wasn't during a match. It wasn't in front of a crowd. It was during training, in the middle of a youth session, the place he still gave his all. George Armstrong was the soul of Arsenal, said Arsene Wenger. Everyone respected him even if they didn't know how much he had done for this club. And though the banners may fade, his legacy does not. Because in every quiet servant, every relentless runner, every cross that goes unnoticed, he still lives. Subscribe to honor the ones who gave everything and never asked for anything back.